Namanda, 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 namanda. Namanda. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We would like to begin our December Shotsuki Hoyo monthly memorial and adult Dharma service. And I would like to begin by reading the names of those who've passed away in the month of December. Wakako Adachi, Larry Aikawa, Yoneko Aochi, Yasuhiko Aoki, Koto Aoyagi, Yasutaro Chiyoda, Jean Dent, Fumie Doi, Goro Endo, Takako Endo, Fusakichi Fuji, Keri Fuji, George Fujino, Noboru Fukuchi, Michiko Fukutomi, Emiko Furuta, Toshiko Furuta, Jay Gluck, Sumi Hiramoto Gluck, Mutsu Gonda, Utaro Harada, Kinuko Diana Hayashi, Osue Hirabayashi, Masahiro Hirayama, Fred Hiromoto, Fuji Ikeda, Tom Ikemiya, Fred Kaneshige, Dick Kanzaki, Keishu Kanzaki, Otokichi Kashima, Tamesaku Kataoka, Kiyono Kawabata, Yuji Kawabata, Hisa Kawamoto, Pearl Kawamoto, Ryu Kawaoka, Yufu Kisanuki, Keisaburo Koda, Kazuo Koizumi, Takehei Kono, Heitaro Kosobayashi, Margaret Kubota, Myosuke Kuramura, Robin Sasaki Ledecker, Torahei Masuoka, Ben Matsui, Matsu Matsui, Chosei Matsui, Fusako Matsutani, Kinu Matsutani, Rokusaburo Miyamoto, Masato Mori, Yoshihisa Mori, Naoto Roy Muramoto, Yotaro Najima, Nobori Nakagawa, Toru Tam Nakagawa, Hiroshi Nakai, Masato Nakao, Jin Nakao, Shigeko Nakao, Takashi Nakao, Seiichi Nakatani, Eiichi Nakazono, Saburo Natsuhara, Gloria Natsuhara, Nobuko Natsuhara, Masako Neishi, Sadaichi Neishi, George Nobori, Don Nomiyama, Jerry Nomura, Sekinosuke Okai, Mary Fumie Okamura, Shinji Okamura, Hide Okano, Kimio Okawachi, Takashi Okawachi, Keiji Onizuka, Jane Otsuka, Tomio Otsuka, Wendy Mitsu Pendro, Yukiko Sakakura, Jun Sasaki, Yukichi Sasaki, Mitsuzo Satake, Helen Sato, Hironobu Sato, Julie Seiji Shibata, Kunio Shibata, Tomino Shigemoto, Amy Shimada, Yoshizo Shimamoto, Masao Shinomoto, Shigeyoshi Suwa, Hatsue Sunagawa, Itsu Takahashi, Michie Takashima, Yoshitsugu Takeda, Seikatsu Takesaka, Teiko Tamori, Ichiro Tanaka, Masaichi Tanaka, Masayo Tani, Kusu Tanita, Kazuyuki Terada, Yukie Terada, Tadashi Teraura, Keiji Toyofuku, Mary Tsuboi, Shozo Tsuboi, Ayako Agnes Tsuji, Yumiko Tsujimoto, Jane Uemura, Shigekazu Umemoto, Yoshi Ushijima, Kin Usui, Teruko Ueno, George Watanabe, Howard Worrell, Yoshio Yabe, Naozo Yago, George Yamaguchi, Masato Yamashita, Takefumi Yasuda, Masai Yokomizo, Nobue Noi Yokomizo, Yonekichi Yokomizo, Stephen Young. Okay, next we will have Sutra chanting. Today we will chant Sanbutsuge. It's on page 22 in the small book and page 79 in the big purple book. I'll give you a second. Small book 22, big book 79. We're going old school. I turned off the TV. Did you notice? These words, Sanbutsuge, are Dharmakara Bodhisattva's praise to the Buddha and then aspiration for Buddhahood. We saw a picture of Dharmakara Bodhisattva last week during Dharma school, but you can chant along, or you can think about your loved ones that are being honored during the chanting. Oh, and keep an ear out for unknown. Namanda, 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 namanda. Nichi ga tsumani shuko enyo kai shitsu onpei yunyaku jumok nyorai yogen chose munin shogaku dayon koru jippo kaimon shojin sanmai chie itoku muryo shushoke jintai zennen shobutsu hokkai gujin jin no kugo gaitai mumyo yokunu seson yomu ninno shishi jin toku muryo kukun kodai chie jinmyo komyo iso shindo daisen ganga sabutsu zai shoho kado shoji mifuge datsu fuse joi kainin shojin nyoze sanmai chie ijo gosei tokubutsu Fugyo shigan isai kuku isadayan keshi ubutsu yakusen okuman muryo dai shoshin yogoja kuyo isai shito shobutsu funyo gudo kensho fukyak hinyo goja shobutsu sekai bufu kake mushu setsu do komyo shisho henshi shokok nyoze shojin ijin nanyo ryoga sabutsu
国土第一五種奇妙道場超絶国女内音リム闘争ガト愛民道脱一切実法来生心熱症状糸が国経楽安の古物神妙是が心象発願の非力所所欲実法世尊知恵無下上領子孫知が信用軽量心死食毒中画行精進忍術不敬ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブがんにしくどく平等性一切道も大心往生安楽ナマンダーナマンダーナマンダーナマンダーナマンダー。
Okay, thank you very much for joining us for our December Shotsuki Hoyo monthly memorial and adult Dharma service. So if you're not a Shotsuki family, you can still be here. One thing I will point out, we're going to have our Oakland Buddhist Women's Association Bonen Kai after this, and so that's why I'm wearing this blue robe, because this is was donated for OBWA, the Fujin Kai, by Reverend Kodo Umezu. And so I thought, even though this isn't an OBWA service necessarily, but we're going to have OBWA fun later, so I thought I would wear it kind of in honor of that. So we just chanted Sanbutsuge. Ge means like gatha or hymn. San is praise, and Butsu is Buddha. So it's a gatha in praise of the Buddha. Okay? And the reason why I felt like I wanted to talk about it is because I'm realizing, I think a lot of maybe what some of the problems we're having in the world are related to narratives. These narratives that different religions have, these narratives that maybe different cultures have. And it's important for us, I'm realizing more and more, that we understand our own narrative. Or should I say narratives, because there's not just one. Right? I mentioned Shakyamuni Buddha in the first service. Today we're observing Bodhi Day, which is the awakening of Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha who lived 2,500 years ago. And then Sanbutsuge that we just chanted, and actually Jusei-ge too. That comes from the larger Sutra of Immeasurable Life, which is related to Amida Buddha. Right? Not specifically Shakyamuni Buddha, although Shakyamuni is the narrator of that story, speaking of narratives. Right? That the sutra, the larger sutra, tells this story of Amida Buddha, who, when we say Namo Amida Butsu, right, we're saying, I take refuge in Amida Buddha. So I think it's important that we realize and have some awareness at the very least of what we're chanting, because it's directly related to what our school is about, our kind of Buddhism. Last week for Jusei-ge, I pointed out the Sei Fujo Shogak part. And that is this really interesting section when we say it 3 times, and fu is actually a negative. So say fujo shogak, it's saying I will not attain enlightenment if what I just said doesn't come true. Right? So there's this idea of vows in our school. That's why we're called the Honganji. Right? Our mother temple is Honganji, Nishi Honganji. Right? And that's the vows of Dharmakara Bodhisattva. But Sanbutsuge that we just chanted is a little earlier in the story, and it's about this king who meets a Buddha, and whether the king was historical in our world or kind of the mythical past, right? But there's a king who meets a Buddha and realizes, whoa, I want to be like that. I want to be like a Buddha, or I want to be Buddha. I want to become Buddha. And then recites Sanbutsuge. And so this Sanbutsuge is praising that Buddha, praising its Lokeshvara Raja Buddha, this other Buddha, right? Praising that Buddha, and then also aspiring for Buddhahood themselves. So why praise the Buddha? We actually do it all the time. One way to understand Namo Amida Butsu is we're praising the Buddha. We recite sutras. We can think of this sutra recitation, we're praising the Buddha. Why should we do that? I would hope we each have our own answers. I thought of a couple. Because Buddha awakened to true reality, something beyond the falsity of our world, and then taught it to everybody. Right? Didn't just awaken for themselves, but then went out and taught others how to do that. Right? Maybe that's part of it. Right? That Buddha didn't just aspire to awaken and escape from suffering, but then also aspired to make it happen for everybody. Not just for himself, but for others, for all beings. Didn't hold it back just for himself. Right? Could have done that. I mentioned that earlier, right? I mean, some of the stories say Buddha realizes, Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha, he's like, nobody's going to get this. It's taken me multiple lifetimes. It's kind of like counterintuitive and doesn't go like what we normally think, right? So nobody's going to get this. Fortunately, what the story says, one of the Hindu gods, Brahma maybe, says, no, please, come on, Shakyamuni, you got to teach. I don't know, people, this is going to be pretty hard. No, come on, please, you got to do it. I don't know, come on, you have to, we need to. And realizing, oh, just as the lotus emerges from the mud, maybe foolish beings could become awakened. Okay, I'll teach. And Shakyamuni stands up from the Bodhi tree and walks off and wanders around the world almost for teaching others. Right? And so this compassion, right, this wanting to share this truth that Buddha awakened to is such a big part of our Buddhism. Another really important part, and I know there's a lot of words, and I've been up here babbling away for like over an hour, right, hour and a half. But before the chanting, I asked you to listen for one word, unknown, unknown. Right? And it's actually, the line is keraku unknown. Remember when we're chanting? And so that keraku unknown, I think we can just understand as peace and happiness. Peace and happiness. Right? What a concept. Right? But that's what Buddhism is aiming for. Not just for me, not just for my people, not just for my tribe, but for everyone, for all beings. Even Shinran Shonin uses that term, annon, and yononaka annon nare, right? Uses this expression in a letter saying that we should wish, may there be peace in the world. Right? That is our wish as Shin Buddhists. Right? This wish for peace in the world. It's not just for get as much as I can get, right? It's not just, well, peace and happiness for my people, not them, right? For everyone. This peace in the world, I believe, is one of our core values as Shin Buddhists. So, speaking of narratives, when I was a student, some 20, 25 years ago, I got interested in postmodernism. Nobody talks about it anymore, but postmodernism was really exciting back in the 90s, maybe 2000s, right? And so one of the main people is, I think his name is Jean-Francois Lyotard. And he wrote a book on postmodernism. And one of the neat things about it is he says that we're going to go beyond meta-narratives. The problem is when you have one group telling us this is the story, and it's the only story, and we're right, everyone else is wrong. And if you do that, then what if there's people that don't have that story? And so if maybe we could go beyond that, and maybe postmodernism is a world where we can have multiple narratives, where it doesn't have to just be one narrative, or two competing narratives, and that's it. Capitalism and communism. How's that for one, right? These meta-narratives that so much of our culture is based on in so many ways, right? I'm old enough to remember the Cold War. I'm old enough to remember the Berlin Wall, right? I'm old enough to remember banging the shoe and all kinds of stuff, right? Going to the moon, the space race. So much of our culture is based on this competition between communism and capitalism, right? Bizarre. Can we move beyond just two meta-narratives? Can we have multiple narratives? Maybe it's a pipe dream. Some of these narratives seem to kind of compete with each other, right? There's a war going on right now with a couple of major narratives, right, that are in competition, right? Who does Israel belong to, right? Who is Israel in that area, right? Is it for one group? Is it for the other group? Can two groups live together? Can we have all kinds of people living together there? Right? And then you start looking at the narratives of what the story is, right? And then there's all these narratives we don't even know about that are churning away underneath that maybe people don't want us to know about, right? How many millions, billions of dollars are being thrown into this thing with a couple or three of these narratives? And then along come these Buddhists. Our narrative's totally different. Right? Our narrative doesn't have anything to do with the Bible. Our narrative doesn't have anything to do with the Quran. Right? Those are other narratives, and our narratives are related to Shakyamuni. Our narratives are related to Amida Buddha. Right? Our narratives are totally different than those. Can we live together? Right? Can I have my narrative and someone else have their narrative? And we can meet and say hello and smile and talk? Right? That's the world I would wish for. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be this wish for peace in the world? May there be peace in the world, this wish of Shinran Shonin. There's actually a second phrase to that. Shinran actually says, may there be peace in the world, and may the Buddha Dharma spread. I usually leave that one out, but maybe I should put it in there, right? 'Cause I want the Buddha Dharma to spread, right? I don't have to agree with that other narrative. Right? Can I be Buddhist? Isn't that what America's about? That I can have freedom of religion? That I can believe what I want to believe without having someone telling me I have to? I really, really am disturbed that some people seem to think they're right and that they can tell me what to believe and they can tell you what to believe and what side to take. Do we have to take a side? I mean, it's happening out in the streets. People have come up to at least one of our members. Who do you support? Whoa, it's kind of threatening, isn't it? Do you really go up to someone and tell them that? No way. This is America, I thought, right? That I can believe what I want to believe. Right? And if I want to convince something of something a different way, that I don't tell them, you have to believe this because I told you. That's not how Buddha taught. Right? Our Buddhism is, you want to believe this because it's pretty cool. And I'm not going to threaten you. I'm going to just show you how cool it is. And if you like it, good. If you don't like it, fine. Not a problem. Right? And maybe we can talk about our values, and we can talk about our different values. And I hope that we share values of peace, of love, of kindness, of compassion. Right? That's the ideal world for me, where we can believe different things but still get along and not have to fight each other, right? And not have to force someone to believe what I believe. Speaking of narratives, I mean, this Shotsuki today, and as I read that list, I saw all kinds of names. And I saw everything from first year to 50th year, right? So there's all kinds of people on that list, people who've passed away recently, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I've been here since 2009. So a lot of those names, I did the funeral. More names I did not, and maybe met them, maybe didn't. And yet, right, they're still impacting, having an impact on me. It's because of them that we can be here today. They put the members of this temple in prison purely based on their race, right? That's one narrative that United States of America has, that we have to remember, the internment, right? That people were put in prison just because of their race, but religion played a role too. If you read American Sutra, right? Actually being Buddhist was close to a crime back then, right? It didn't fit the meta-narrative of America at that time, so put him in prison. Right? So we have to remember that. But we can also remember, wow, with all these names, and seeing many of you here today, knowing that you're here in memory of someone, and to me, that's amazing, for me. I guess I'm very emotional, partly what I was speaking about previously, but also just thinking about all these connections. And I've been saying a lot, that even if I didn't know the people, they're still connected to me. We're still connected to them, right? And sometimes I know people related to them, and I can think, wow, okay. I don't like to single people out, but it was mentioned earlier that the golf tournament was in tribute of Mary Hiramoto. Right? And Fred Hiramoto is on the list, right? So I can read a name like that, and even though I'm reading it and I'm trying not to mispronounce names, and I'm like reading through the list, and yet a lot of these names, boom, right? Like I just hit with these connections, right? So I never met Fred, and yet impact on me, right? That part of why I'm here is because of him, right? And so many others on the list. Just because I'm pointing one person out doesn't mean I'm not pointing others, And just, for me, I think each year when I read this list, it gets more and more emotional just because I know more and more of the people. Okay? This Shotsuki service is just really important and special because hearing those names, bringing them to mind, right? Thinking about them, even if it's if it's been 5, 10, 15 years, maybe still feeling sad. Others, maybe it's only been 1 or 2 years and you hear it and you're like, right? Different for each one of us, different for each person on the list, but for each one of you, 3 or 5, 10 of you could be related to that person. You each have your own memories, right? Your own feelings. And so this service gives us this really special opportunity to think about them, right? To be with each other, thinking about them together. That's why I like the Shotsuki service. The special, like if you did a first year for your relative, that's special too because it's your family. But I like Shotsuki because it's not just one family, right? It's all of us, that we can all be together. And even, I'm sure if you're here for a Shotsuki name, you hear other names and you're like, even if they're not related to you. Right? I'm sure that so many names, hearing those names, if you've been here for a long time. If you haven't, then it's a wall of names of people that maybe you never heard of. But it's kind of cool too, right? To just read out this list of names, remembering them. There's another name that resounds all over the place, and that's Namo Amida Butsu. And so that's another part of this narrative, that Namo Amida Butsu is the name of Amida Buddha, the Myogo. Okay? And this name, what's special about it is not that I say it. All the Buddhas say the name. The 17th vow. Right? One of the vows is that all the Buddhas are saying the name. So Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. It's resounding throughout the universe. It's through this Namo Amida Butsu that we encounter Amida Buddha, that we encounter the Dharma. Right? But it's also because of the people who are on the list, right? The names that I read, all these people too are part of that call. Right? So that we can hear that name. We say Namo Amida Butsu, we're saying the Nembutsu, right? Reciting the Nembutsu, saying the name of the Buddha, but we can also hear it. And I point to my ear, but maybe I shouldn't do that, because it's not necessarily the auditory nerve, right? It's not necessarily that aspect of consciousness of hearing. Right? It's deeper. It's kind of like a spiritual hearing. To hear, to truly hear and feel Namo Amida Butsu, right? Is maybe the ultimate goal of our school, so that we can be connected to Amida Buddha, connected to everyone, to be born in the land of peace and happiness when we pass. But then that's not the end of the story either. Another part of our narrative is we go to the Pure Land, we come right back. We don't hang out there. It seems like a great place. It's paradise, right? Who wouldn't want to stay, right? But once you get there, you're like, Buddhahood, now I get it. I got to help everybody else now. And come right back, right? So that this energy of wisdom and compassion from the Buddha is actually coming to us always. The name resounding throughout the universe, wisdom and compassion coming to me in my life. And then when I realize that and say Namo Amida Butsu, it's in deep reverence, gratitude, and praise of the Buddha. So I want to thank you very much for joining us. Let's conclude the Dharma message with Gassho. In the words of Shinran Shonin, may there be peace in the world, and may the Buddha Dharma spread. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Okay, let's sing Gata Ondoksan 2. Let's see, it's on page 76 in the small book. $2.20 in the big purple book. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Okay, I think that will conclude our December Shotsuki Hoyo monthly memorial and adult Dharma service. Thank you very much for joining us, and you can come up in Oshoko if you haven't had the chance already. And take it away, Steve. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo.